Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Abyad from Elevare. Today we are going to solve a problem from Maths B paper 2 2022 regional. So let us first read the problem. Arup collects information about time delay in minutes of some trains. He is going to draw a pie chart for his results. The incomplete table below gives some information about his results together with the size in degrees of the angle of each of the three sectors in his pie chart. So basically, Arup is collecting information of some train about the time delay. And with that set of data, he is going to draw a pie chart and basically represent the, the classes and their observed frequencies in terms of angles. So, first of all, before jumping onto the problem, we first have to understand what exactly a pie chart is. So a pie chart is a way to represent your data in terms of angles. So in short, if I have to say, it's just a complete circle with one revolution representing 360 degrees. And what Arup is doing, he is calculating the number of trains or the number of frequencies of train, and based on that he is finding the proportion for each of the classes, uh, and calculating the angles that each of the classes represent on the pie chart. As simple as that. So first of all, what we have to do in these kind of problems, uh, we first have to find the total number of outcomes. So the total number of outcomes can be calculated by only one piece of data from this table, and that is the first one. Now you may ask why? Why cannot I use this or this or this? Why am I using this? Pretty obvious, because we have been given both the frequency and the angle in this particular class. But for these classes, we either have angle, we either have frequency, but we don't have both of them. So it would be difficult to take both variables and find out the observed frequency and the angle at the same time. So what we are going to do, we're going to use such a class where both the frequency and angle is present. So as I said, he is representing the frequency as a proportion in terms of angles. So the frequency for the first class is, for the first class is 42. So let's write this down. So frequency is 42, and the angle that represents this 42 number of trains is 168 degrees, right? Now, the total number of outcomes or the total frequency can be considered as x. Let's say it is x. So 42 divided by x, since we are finding the ratio or the proportion, multiplied with 360. Why 360? Because a pie chart is basically a circle, and one circle has one revolution, and one revolution is equal to 360 degrees. So multiplied with 360 gives us 168. As simple as that. So we're going to get x 42 into 360 divided by 168 gives us 90. Okay. Now we have to find these pieces, these fill in the blanks, right? We have to fill these up. And how can we do this? We're going to use the advantage of our frequency. So let's say we're going for the second class, 5 to 10, right? 5 to 10. Let me write it down. 5 to 10. And we don't know the frequency here, right? So let's consider the frequency as y. Okay, the frequency is y, and we know the angle, which is 92 degrees, and we also know the total number of outcomes, which is 90. Actually, I'm writing total number of outcomes here because this makes it more. Yes, total number of outcomes is equals to 90 degrees. So 90 trains, okay? So y divided by 90 multiplied with 360, since we are finding it in angles, is equals to 92. And if you make y the subject, you can simply calculate 360 by 90 is a 4. So 92 divided by 4 gives you 23. So this is the frequency for this one. So let us write it down here. 23. Sorry, not here. It's here. 23. Okay. Now let's go for the third piece of data, which is this one, 10 to 20. So 10 to 20 would be, so we know the frequency now, but we do not know the angle. So let's write down whatever piece of information we have. Frequency is equals to 15. The angle is something we do not know, so we have to find the angle. So let's consider the angle as A, and 15 divided by 90 into 360 is equals to A. This is going to be 60 degrees. Okay, so this is going to be 60 degrees. All right. Now, we have to find this one. Now, the problem is we don't have any pieces of information in this particular class. And this is where most students get stuck. So how can we actually find out uh, the pieces of information? Because we do not have anything here, right? Now, there are two ways you can approach this problem. You know the total number of frequencies, which is 90, right? So what you can do, you can subtract all these frequencies, you can add up all these frequencies and subtract from 90 to get the missed piece of information here. Or you can go the other way, which is by subtracting all these angles from 360 degrees to get this missing angle. So you can do any of the way. So I'm going to go for the angle one. So 360 subtracted with, I'm going to add these up in my calculator. 168 plus 92 plus 60 plus 8 gives me 328. 360 minus 328 is 32 degrees. Okay, so now we are good to go. We can fill this frequency easily using the same proportion method. So let me make it a bit smaller and solve this one here. 20 to 25. 20 to 25. We don't know the frequency. Let's consider the frequency for this class as f. F divided by 90 into 360 is 32. All right, so we're going to get 32 multiplied with 90 divided by 360 gives us 8. All right. So yeah, we're good to go. We can write this information down here. All right, let's move on to part B of the question, which says calculate and estimate in minutes to three significant figures for the mean time delay of these trains. In order to calculate the mean of any grouped frequency table, we have to calculate the midpoint or the mean of the classes, the individual classes. Now, before going on calculating the mean or the midpoint of the classes, we first have to understand how a class is defined. A class is defined using lower boundary and upper boundary. For example, I've taken this class here 1 to 5. The 1 represents the lower boundary and 5 represents the upper boundary. So we are going to find out the mean or the midpoint of the lower boundary and upper boundary. You simply add this up and divide with 2. So this is the formula to calculate the midpoint or the mean of the class. So we have to calculate the mean or the midpoint of all the individual classes, and we have to make a separate column where we put these values. So for example, 1 plus 5 is 6, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 5 plus 10 is 15, by 2 is 7.5. 10 plus 20 is 30, divided by 2 is 15. 20 plus 25 is 45, by 2, which is 22.5. 25 plus 40 is 65, divided by 2 gives you 32.5. Alright, now let's use all these calculated values, the midpoints and the frequencies, to calculate the mean time delay. Alright, so now to calculate the mean, we will use this formula. Mean is equals to sum of fx divided with n. So the sum of fx is basically whatever the midpoint we have calculated for each of the classes, we have to multiply with their corresponding frequency and simply continue to add them up. So for example, you have calculated the first as 3 multiplied with 42, and then you add up with 7.5 into 23, and then respectively with all the classes and their midpoints multiplied with frequency. So, and the n here represents the total number of trains. So we divide with the total number of trains to calculate the mean. So 3 into 42, add them up, 7.5 into 23, addition 15 multiplied with 15, 22.5 multiplied with 8, 32.5 multiplied with 2. And then you divide this entire thing with 90 because the total number of trains is 90. Alright, so 3 into 42 plus 7.5 into 23 plus 15 into 15 plus 22.5 into 8 plus 32.5 into 2 gives us 768.5 by 90. And if you calculate this, if you divide this with 90, you're going to get 8.53889. And I'm going to give this in 3 significant figures since the question has asked to 3 significant figures. And if you do not do this, you're going to get 3 out of 4. So you have to make sure to give your answer to 3 significant figures because that last 1 mark is your accuracy mark. So 8.54 is the final answer. So yeah, so this is the math, and this is how you solve the frequency table, the mean of any grouped frequency table. You calculate the median, you calculate the midpoint of all the individual classes, and using that as an advantage, you calculate the mean using this particular formula. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. So that's it for today.